Hey folks, I want to talk through something I've been wrestling with, something that touches on the limits of political strategy, the meaning of public outrage, and what kind of country we're trying to hold together. I wrote a piece this week after reading a memo from the Searchlight Institute, a new centrist leaning Democratic think tank that argues Democrats should steer clear of the phrase abolish ICE. They say it's too politically risky, too easy to weaponize, and too divorced from practical policy solutions. And look, I get where they're coming from. I really do. There's a history here. So I mean, think back to 2020 when defund the police became a rallying cry for justice, but also got distorted in media narratives and turned into a political boogie person. That backlash still haunts a lot of Democratic operatives and candidates, and that fear shapes how they're responding to ICE. But here's what's different this time. A woman, Renee Nicole Good, was just shot in the face by a federal ICE agent in Minneapolis. And yes, the ICE agent is saying that they were bleeding internally, and this is a tragedy for all families involved. But a woman getting shot in the face in her car is not hyperbole. That happened, and it was caught on video. The agent fired multiple rounds into her vehicle, and instead of centering that violence, the lack of accountability, the erosion of public trust, the poor training and recruitment, many in the political center are more focused on whether activists are using the right words. And that's what I want to unpack. Because that response, the impulse to prioritize message discipline over moral clarity, reveals something deeper. It's not just about strategy, it's about a worldview. In political circles, centrism is often described as the art of compromise, the belief that stability and consensus are found by staying in the middle. Perhaps for this video, I should really refer to it as reactionary centrism, which is a term used on the American political left that really accuses commentators of taking centrist positions that really only punch left but cater to right wing narratives. It's a mindset shaped in specific environments, mostly professional, mostly insulated, and often racially homogenous. It's a worldview that assumes that the most reasonable voters are the ones farthest from direct harm, that anger must always be managed, and that emotion is suspect, and that politics should be slow, careful, and polite, even when the system is escalating in violence. And here's where that mindset starts to crack. A YouGov poll conducted just days ago shows that 46% of Americans support abolishing ICE. Even among independents, support outweighs opposition, and a majority says ICE tactics are too forceful. That's not a Twitter echo chamber. That's not a radical fringe. That's the mainstream beginning to register what's happening. That an agency of the federal government originally designed for immigration enforcement has become something far more aggressive, far more political, and in some cases, and in most, way more dangerous for the civic life in our civic space. I want to be clear, this isn't just about one agency, it's about a pattern. Systems meant to serve the public begin to terrorize parts of it, and the political response is to not scare voters. That's not caution, that's avoidance. It reflects what I call a crisis in imagination, a failure to envision anything beyond the status quo. A belief that the systems we inherited are basically sound, and any push to rethink them is a step too far. But for people who live in the shadow of those systems, immigrants, Black Americans, working class women, marginalized groups of all kinds, there's no luxury of pretending it's all working. There's no neutrality when they experience state power. That's where what W.E.B. Du Bois called double consciousness. It's the ability to see both the ideal of America and the daily contradictions that undercut it. This is also why so many people, especially Black and brown women, are increasingly disillusioned with a Democratic Party that asks for their votes, their labor, and their patience, but can't bring itself to speak with moral clarity when it matters most. If you're in a community where federal agents show up mass, detain people without explanation, shoot civilians, and operate with minimal accountability, then being told that abolish is too harsh a word, that feels like gaslighting. I'm not naive. I don't think abolition is easy, and I don't think slogans alone are solutions. And I don't think everyone in democratic politics is acting in bad faith. Far from it. But I do think too many people in power have mistaken moderation for morality and strategy for substance. So here's the question: if we can't even say that a system has gone too far, if we can't even name the violence, how can we ever be trusted to stop it? Abolish ICE isn't a purity test, it's a barometer, a way of asking whether our politics can still respond to injustice in plain language, or whether we've built a political class that's more fluent in polling than in principle. The future won't be decided by who moderates best. It'll be shaped by who has the courage and the imagination to say what is broken and to fight for something better. And that is why I write this newsletter, Stew on This, so that we can have frank discussions about our shrinking civic space, center the perspective of those who are harmed, and be serious about what America is promising and what it still has to deliver in an environment where a lot of unseriousness seems to be trending. So please like, subscribe, share. You can find my work at stewonthis.com. But most importantly, be kind, love your loved ones, enjoy, keep your joy, be happy, stay informed, stay safe, and build a better community together. That can just be by saying hi to your neighbor, getting to know them, or going to a local meeting, or just attending book events at your local library. Just meeting people face to face and being the civic citizen that the best ideals of our framers and founders, whether hypocritical, self aggrandizing, or they actually meant it, was meant to inspire and succeeding generations of Americans that eventually did fight for the rights of all Americans and all peoples of all backgrounds. Have a good day. See you next time.